What up? I'm adjusting this cup. If you see that, it's because we're on Facebook Live. This is James Krause, the James Krause.
The one and only.
Yeah. What are you doing in Winnipeg?
Yeah, so I'm here for Tim Elliott. You know, he's fighting this Saturday. So I'm so glad to be here, not just for him, but the card is amazing.
Yeah.
As well. So Winnipeg has always been phenomenal to me. I really enjoy it here. It brings back a lot of awesome memories. So. I'm happy to be here. You know,
awesome memories because this was your first UFC fight.
This is my UFC debut, 2013 June, so it was a lot nicer.
This is what it is.
Oh,
this is
God.
Winnipeg. Now you got the right thing. You even got a parka.
I got this damn.
Yeah.
I got this. I'm doing my interview with my hood on. But
is that camo in there?
It's super thick.
Yeah.
This thing. My wife got me this for Christmas, and she said she looked at the Winnipeg weather. She's like, "I'm gonna give you a Christmas present early." Yeah. And I was like, "What? Really?" It's like way early. And I opened it up, and I was like, "Ah, I get it.
I get it.
I get it now."
And where's your gym? Where are you?
Yeah, so I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, Lee Summit, Missouri. So we have 2 locations in there, but I'm in Lee Summit, North Kansas City, and then Zach, who also fights on the same day I do next month. He's one of my partners in another gym. So
another gym. You have 2 gyms?
2 gyms. Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yep, 2 gyms and an affiliate, all in Missouri.
So when we were talking before off camera, you said you're a better coach than you're a fighter, although you're a fucking good fighter. And including amateur fights and other combat. Over 50 fights?
Just MMA. That's not counting kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, or anything like that. This is 55 MMA fights, and this is like 30-something pro.
Wow.
So but whenever I started, I've been doing this for 11 years. So whenever I started, there was no amateur and pro. It was all just like, hey, oh cool, you're 180. Hey, you're 150. Let's.
We'll give you $100 or pay me $50 and you can fight.
No, I didn't get paid when I started. I wasn't even close.
Did you pay to fight someone else?
I never paid to fight. But I always sold a fuck ton of tickets. So, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't. I've always had that promoter dynamic about me.
You lots of people follow you on things, and you sell a lot of tickets. Why is that? Like, why do you think? I mean, you teach people. You're a good dude, but why do you think there's always an audience for you when you fight?
I think it's I'm charismatic. Ish. And the way I look at it is like, look, I know people, some of these guys, they don't understand I get it, because I'm a gym owner.
Right.
I'm a fighter. I do my own promotion as well in Kansas City. So like I get every aspect of the game. At the end of the day, all of those things are businesses. So there has to be a return on investment. So I think people follow me because I get excited about it. So I told you that story to tell you this story. If you can't get excited about your own fight, why the hell should I?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's just what it is. I get excited. I talk about it. I'm genuinely thrilled to be there. I'm happy to do stuff like this.
I think that's why I relate to you, because I'm fucking stoked about everything that I'm doing.
And if you're not, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. What the fuck are you doing? It shocks me sometimes. Or when you see people say in this end, and you do some of this kind of stuff too, in this end where people are like real negative and stuff, and this sucks, and they're like, why the fuck are you wasting, of all the things on earth you could be doing, why are you wasting your time on something you don't like?
Oh, I don't understand it. I'll never get it. And like I got bills to, that's the number one. I got bills to pay. Oh, shit, so do I. But like, figure it out. You will. If you want to, you will. If you don't, you won't. And that's just pretty much the nature of the beast.
And that's true of all things. So fighting itself, the art of fighting, you've been able to have like that combination of good, clean skills, but also feel. And that's probably partly from coaching and partly from being smart. But you've kind of got that 3-dimensional feel where you can break what some people think are the rules or
I break a lot.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do a lot of wrong things that work for me. To me, like Tim is a great example of this. I before he came to my gym, I had no idea how to wrestle. So he really helped me, and I don't want to say I do now, but
you wrestle better than you did.
Yeah, way better. And I would say, is that right? Is that wrong? He said, don't worry about if it's right or wrong. Did you get the takedown? Yeah. Are you taking down good people with it? Yeah. Well, then it works. It's right.
Did you end up on top in a position you can hit them? Yeah.
Yeah. And because and here everybody drills pretty much the same shit over and over and over every day. So if you for me, like I'm a student of the game, and when I obsess over this game, not just MMA, but combat sports in general.
Me too.
I watch Glory Kickboxing. I watch EBI. I watch boxing. I'm a huge boxing fan.
Sorry to interrupt. Does your wife like any of this stuff or tolerate
She'll
it?
tolerate it. Oh yeah. She watches it every the UFC stuff. She gets into. She likes UFC. She won't really get into like the boxing matches, unless I'm like ecstatic about Lomachenko.
And the friends are
Rigondeaux.
coming over and whatever.
Yeah, unless I'm raving about Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux or whoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She'll stay out of it, but but for the most part, she tolerates it. She watches it. She enjoys. Like she's a fan of a lot of people that fight, especially in the UFC. But yeah, I'm a student of the game, and I really try to break down. So for me, like everybody is practicing how to defend a double leg, a blast double. Everybody does that every day. You go into a wrestling room if you
for
wrestle,
decades.
Yeah, they know how to do it. But for me, like I'll run a head outside single, which in wrestling is wrong. But,
and then they said it was wrong in MMA because you get guillotined. Just prevent the guillotine and then run it.
Sure, and that's the only takedown that I hit on anybody for a long time. So and I'm taking down good wrestlers with it. And it to me, if I get them down, it works. And so what I'm getting at is I feel like there's different ways to approach things. Another example I just gave somebody else the other day was, lately for me, like I've really gotten away from jiu-jitsu. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but I feel like jiu-jitsu is literally by the day becoming less and less relevant.
I agree 100%.
And so
it's a beautiful sport. It's a
I
beautiful
love
art
it.
form.
I'm a black belt. I've been dedicated 10 years of my life to the sport. I use it for a couple things. I put the gi on. It's really tightened up my passing game. Just the gi jiu-jitsu in general. And then I like using it to create sweeps, space. You're gonna have a hard time sweeping a high level guy now, but you can create space. But
or take away space.
Or take away space. So space creators or smashers, one or two.
Crushers,
that's what it's great for.
Yeah.
But like in side mount, everybody's getting up from side mount now. Everybody is. So I've just been stepping back to half guard. They're like pass. No, passing's for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Stay there and beat the hell out of them. Make them want you to pass. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where my game is, more of a catch style with the sprinkle of jiu-jitsu in.
The principles that make sense. I talked to Greg Jackson about this like a good year ago when Duho Choi fought Cub Swanson, and that night in Toronto, fucking kill fight. I'm going to spend 10 days with Duho Choi, just studying him for his next fight. But we were talking about it, and even a year back, he was talking about how people think that these rules and structures and principles and even things they call fundamentals are not really that. They become that, and they're relevant if they work, and when they stop working because everyone believes they're there, you go back to true principles. And if I can hold you in a position using parts of my body when one weapon is free, that's a win. I have a weapon and you are not able to move. Any way we can do that is a win, and any way we can't do that is now no longer feasible. But then it changes again. So once we get to the point that we're like, the guard is dead, everybody in the gym will stop attacking from their guard.
You're not subbing anybody from guard in the UFC. Tell me, if your listeners here, somebody comment to me when the last time somebody
Tony
got subbed.
Ferguson.
Okay, name another.
There was Michael Bisping carved up George St. Pierre from the bottom. Like, people are starting to use the bottom again as an offensive position.
But like, when is the last time you've seen like an armbar or a triangle?
Tony. It's rarer. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is my belief.
They're there. There's an exception to the rule.
So let's say in your gym,
you
and 100 other gyms, everybody says the guard doesn't work. We're using the guard to get back to our feet. If everyone in your gym does that for 5 years, and nobody's attacking from there for 5 years, the ability to understand that top position and deal with the bottom attacks starts to atrophy. My ability to be aware of it and deal with it starts to atrophy.
Well, that's the problem. You still have to do it. You have to know it. You know what I mean? So like, you're not going to sub anybody with a triangle armbar. And like I said, Tony, for sure, you can name exceptions. But for the most part, it's not gonna happen. But you still got to know. You got to know, and that's why you need to be. That's put your gis on, kids at home. You got to know that shit. You know what I mean? Or that'll get you in trouble if you don't, because that is fundamental.
It's a truth. It's a truth. If you don't know how to deal with the fact that somebody will cut the blood off to your throat, you will pass out cold. If they can do that with their legs, or if you can't stop a hyperextension of your arm, that's a truth. You must be able to stop that.
Well, it's a primary color. You know what I mean? Like it's something. It's something that's there that you gotta know that shit. But there's a bunch of other stuff that makes makes different colors. But you gotta know the primaries.
It's this kind of stuff, and not just what it was true 2 years ago is no longer true.
Well,
remember,
it's just 6 months ago.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not even
3
the same.
weeks ago sometimes. Like,
oh, man.
remember when you were coming up and you're a purple belt and somebody told you never cross your legs when you do an armbar? You know what I mean?
Everybody does it.
Yeah,
I do it all the time,
right? You alternate back and
Yeah.
forth for different reasons. There's
Yeah.
a million examples for that. You know, don't do a can opener or somebody will armbar you.
You know the
Yeah.
biggest one we're talking about. The
Yeah.
biggest one that drives me nuts is, so we were going over a technique we call it the dagger. It's basically a double underhook position where you go here, high on the neck, mount on the waistline, high on the neck, and you just lock. And I was doing this in class. I was showing this. Well, and a couple wrestlers were like, "Why I like to go to this?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, why don't you guys grip?" And they kind of sit there, but coming up in wrestling, you can't.
Yeah, right.
You can't grip your hands.
Yeah, right.
So you're doing
Right.
it just because you haven't done it this whole time, and there's no purpose behind it.
That's what you call an imaginary rule, right?
Sure.
An imaginary fact. And then you probably blew their minds with that. Like, what? Whoa.
And now they're murdering people with it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
bet. When I was
it's crazy, though.
in Russia, I was commentating the World Sanda Championships, which is, Sansha or Sanda is full contact, punching, kicking, and wrestling, takedowns, throws, I get points, or a takedown where I then touch the ground after you, I get a certain amount of points. But no elbows, no knees. But it's a full contact fight. Everything changes.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So the World Sanda
love
Championships.
watching
Oh man, fantastic! I did 232 fights in 3 days. Commentated 232 fights in 3 days. We would do a 40 to 50 session morning, 3 2-minute rounds for 5 hours, then take a lunch break, and then do 5 hours of commentary that night, 3 days in a row. But my understanding of the dynamic when you remove a knee and an elbow, like remove a knee from a fight, and then everything changes. Suddenly, shit, like the way that you would never like get your hips way back in a certain position, now you can because the guy won't knee you. It changes everything when you remove one thing. And so I've got friends in Toronto now that train young amateur and young pro MMA guys, and I'm getting them to go and compete in Sanda because every time you remove a certain skills or add other ones, it changes the entire understanding, your relationship with combat itself.
And that's what that's what the game is coming to. And I think this is the whole principle of what we're getting at is. And Tim is the shining example of this. Is like, if you put Tim in a kickboxing match, he's not going to do well. If you put him in a jiu-jitsu match at a high level, he's not going to do well. You put him
Tim Elliott.
If you put him in the wrestling room, he'll do well. He's national champion. He'll do
pretty
well.
good.
But what he's so good at is the transitional stuff, the in-between stuff that nobody sees, that you can't really. This is. Whenever I watched him, I've been helping coach Tim for a long time. Whenever I watched him, I'm like, like if I'm watching him get ready for a fight or something, if I'm his opponent, I'm like, I just don't see it. But when he gets his hands on you, it's just different because he does little things in between striking and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all that shit. He does little things that you can't see, but it just feel different. And that's what the game is coming to, I think.
It's decentralization is what, and I talked to Greg Jackson and Matt Hume and all these. When you talk to the real coaches, like I was talking about when McGregor was trying to fight. I
don't know if you should say my name with those guys, but I'll take it.
Yeah, you deserve it. And I was talking about McGregor attempting to fight the greatest boxer in the world. The only way you could possibly do that, and I spoke to his coach, they would look with a disruptive mentality. Go and see, what is it about the belief system of what hundreds of years of boxing, what if they maybe focus so heavily on something has changed from the past or whatever. That's what they tried. They had the amount of success that they had and they failed. But that was the approach. And when I talked to all these other coaches, that's not just the approach of this guy. That's the approach of everybody at a high level in fighting now. Trying to find what you misunderstand or believed that is no longer true, or once knew but have forgotten, or the game has forgotten, will allow that.
The sport runs in phases.
Yeah.
And now it seems like we're in like a traditional martial arts phase / catch wrestling, striking. Obviously, like you look at McGregor, Wonder Boy. Yeah. There's a ton of these guys doing the karate style that are doing really well because it's difficult to deal with. Now that catch style is starting to, the catch wrestling style, it hasn't never really gone away because it's so good for MMA, but it's really starting to just purge back in hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's going to be tough to. You're never going to get rid of the catch style, I don't think, in MMA, but the striking changes often. The jiu-jitsu dominated in the beginning because nobody fucking knew it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the wrestlers started learning how to stop takedowns. The kickboxers came along, and the wrestlers started taking it. It constantly evolves.
This phase to me is at a point where the MMA looked at whatever the structure of karate or taekwondo or boxing or whatever, and said, you have these limiting beliefs that only work in your thing. And so they made an entire world of rights and wrongs of what to do to beat that. But then MMA itself started to become that same thing where you must always do this and never do this. And as soon as you do an always and nevers, you're ripe to get picked because it changes constantly. So to say fuck, if you give up an underhook to me, but you are a master of manipulating me with the overhook. Telling a kid he has to have an underhook is just absurdity. But MMA itself became the same way, an indoctrinated martial art instead of being a free fighting.
And I feel I absolutely 100% agree with that. But I feel like now it's starting to break that.
That's a decentralization of it. It's centralized to the point where everybody trained exactly the same shit, and now it's decentralizing where all the stuff outside of those rule structures is where all the gold is.
And like I think you pretty much already touched on this, but like as I talk to all the major coaches, I always like to pick everybody's brain and see what they're doing, and you're pretty much right on. Basically, everybody's they're all doing the same shit now, and the same shit is get away from the rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do the same shit is the different shit. If that makes any
100%.
sense at all. You know what I mean?
The logical thing to do now is not. There's Jordan Meehan. Do you know Jordan?
Oh yeah. He's good. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, he's a great fighter. The logical thing to do is not what everybody else is doing, which is frustrating for some people with a lower level. You have to have an attachment, like a connection to fighting itself. If you just watch a lot of fights and say this, never this, you'll no longer be a good coach anymore. You'll no longer be a good analyst. You have to live it and connect to it because it's an organism. Fighting is an organism.
Agree. And I'm excited. For me, I'm super excited to fight again for that reason, because I feel like my style, more so since I started fighting, I feel like my style in the last 6 months to a year has changed more so than any other time period in my whole 11-year career. And I didn't really get a chance to show up my last fight just because I fought Tom Glitchio. He's super good on the ground, really dangerous on the ground. On the striking department, I had a huge advantage. I wanted to keep it there the whole time. But my ground, I'm probably better on the ground than I am striking. So I'm really excited to show that transitional, that phase of less jiu-jitsu, more ground and pound.
Ornery.
Yeah.
Be mean a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gritty, mean. Catch, just twisting people up. That's where my whole game has gone. So I'm really excited to show that again.
And that's what we started talking about, is their connection between understanding or mastering some of what was and is the basics, and then that feel. That's what 50 fights and teaching every day will get you. You live fighting differently than most people can understand it, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I obsess. I'm a student of the game first, and you know what? I'm a fan. I'm a huge
Me too,
fan.
man.
I'm a huge fan.
It's the coolest thing in the world.
I watch these like Jordan. Like Jordan's sitting right across. I watch Jordan. I watch a shit ton of his fights. I know a lot about him, probably more so than that I would like to admit.
Yeah.
But I watch these guys, and I see the evolution of not just the sport, but I see the evolution of individual fighters such as Jordan.
And they're thinking. And they're thinking.
Exactly. There's tons of guys that have just made leaps and bounds in the last year, and I feel like nobody sees that because maybe they're not in the media spotlight like you talked about with Elliot a second ago. The talking shit is more, so those guys get a little bit like, man,
this is something, if you have time tomorrow or Saturday, let's talk about it again.
I got nothing but time, baby. I'm in Winnipeg.
Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this. There is magical shit going on in fighting right now, but most people don't understand it, and we don't have, in a lot of cases, the language to get it across, and the way that we present it. And I'm not knocking Fox or whoever. No. I've done work for them, and I will again.
Sure.
But people will tell you got to go out and now talk about their striking, now talk about their wrestling, now talk about their takedown defense, and nobody's fighting that way.
Yeah.
Nobody's fucking training that way.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking that way. But producers and television people and people who work in media don't know that.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to talk in an old way about something brand new. It's like talking about calculators to fucking describe phones and computers. It doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't talk about gas mileage on a Tesla. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. They're not immersed within the sport, and it changes. And I don't expect them to be, because they wouldn't know. They can't know unless they're in it every day.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But that's where hopefully conversations like this, some people will just think we're fucking idiots, and other people go, oh yeah.
They'll learn. If not, though, those people get phased out quick. You know what I mean? If you're looking at this conversation right now and you're like, those two are fucking idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. Look, I'm telling you right now, it's not just me saying it. It's not just Robin saying it. The top.
This is what's happening.
This is what's going on right now. Like it or not, and if you don't like it, you're gonna get phased out quick.
Let's get together Friday or Saturday and let's have this conversation about this. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man.
Good seeing you.
Likewise.